Cool. So we're getting ready to get this thing started here. We'll give everybody a little bit of time.
You went?
Yeah.
You put that down?
Yeah. Yellow.
Cool, cool. So I got you guys on mute for right now. We got about another minute or so before we get started. Hey, what's going on, Reginald? How you doing, man? London, what's up? Hey, let me unmute you real quick. Is this London Session Tim?
Yeah, it's Tim.
Tim, okay, cool, man. Where you from, bro?
Atlanta.
Atlanta, okay. All right, cool. That's where I'm out of too. Well, I'm actually out of Canton, so.
Okay.
Yeah. What about you? Is it Reginald or Reggie? What do you go by?
I go by Reggie.
Reggie? Cool, man. Where you from?
I'm Atlanta, downtown.
Oh, we strong out here.
Yes, sir.
We're strong out here. Okay, cool. That's what's up. Well, I'm a pretty prompt person, man. So we're going to start right at 9 o'clock. Whoever here to get this information will be here. It's recorded, so we'll be able to upload it for people coming on a little late. But we're going to make this thing work here. So we'll give it a little bit more time. They got literally about 30 seconds or so before we get started. And we're going to talk about wholesaling real estate, man, how to make some money without using your own money in real estate. Switch this thing over right now. All right, it is 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock. So let me start this thing off officially. My name is Tommy Holt Jr. What's going on, Rob? What's going on? Jay, how you doing? Welcome, welcome. My name is Tommy Holt Jr. And so what I do is I'm a real estate investor in the greater Atlanta market, really focusing on Cobb County, Fulton, DeKalb, and Macon-Bibb County. And so what I do, what I specialize in is what you hear on TV, right? You guys hear on TV about how people, can make money in real estate using little or no money. Like we hear that all the time. We see it all the time, but a lot of us don't believe it, rightfully so, because how do you make money without using your own money? But it's a reality. And I shouldn't say no money, but it's very, very little low cost. And I'm looking for a better Wi-Fi signal, but very low cost. And so we do that through a technique called wholesaling. Wholesaling. Some of you, pretty much everybody has heard of wholesaling. Here, I know on the other ones, you guys don't have the options to get into the chats. But if you have a question, you can go here at the bottom of the screen and tap in the chat, and I'll get a little notification. You can also raise your hand virtually. It should be like three little dots in the top right-hand corner of your screen. You can kind of click that and raise your hand if you have a question as well. But what we do is we wholesale. And so wholesaling, just like you think of when you go to BJ's or Costco's or anything else, wholesaling is about getting a certain item at a discounted price so that you can go then upsell to a traditional buyer. If you understand that concept, then you understand what wholesaling is. Don't make it any more complicated than that. What we're going to do is we're going to introduce some of these ideas and some of these terminologies and those type of things over the course of the next couple of weeks to get you guys proficient enough where you could go out there, generate your own leads. You will understand how to figure out whether or not it's a good deal or not, which is probably one of the most important things. Then understanding how to market those properties, find buyers, deal with lawyers and closing attorneys, especially if you're here in the state of Georgia. We are a attorney state, so we can't use a title company. We have to use attorney. And then dispose of the property, meaning, getting it all the way to the closing table. And then what do we do after that? So this, over the next period of a couple of weeks, we're going to be talking about some of these concepts and making sure that you guys really understand how this process works. I'm trying to look for a signal. I have had this happen before where it completely cuts off. If you guys just stay on there, it'll redirect me and I'll get back on and I will just pick up where we left off at. So, all right. What we need to understand is that every place across America, across the United States, there is someone, and correct me if I'm wrong, that is going to unfortunately pass away. If anybody has any qualms against that, everybody doesn't understand that, let me know. Every country, every state, every city, there's going to be someone who loses their job, who goes through divorce, who gets a better job and now has to move away quickly, whose son or daughter needs to go to college and they need some money for their college tuition. Point being is that every city across this nation, there are people that have problems that need to be solved with money. They need money in their hands in order to solve their problem, and they need that money quickly. Now, with some of these people, they have different ways of obtaining money. Some of them go through the stock market. Some of them might sell a car. Some of them might go pick up some extra hours in their job. But for those are the people that either need some money quickly, a lot of money, or a property kind of just fell into their lap. They have an asset called a house, right? And this house sometimes is an asset for them, or sometimes it's a liability. And let me explain what that means. So asset is something that's obviously putting money in your pocket, adding value to you. Most people would think of a house as, okay, that's obviously an asset, right? Who wouldn't want a house, especially if the house was free, was given to you, was willed to you, right? If you earned it or somehow your house was paid off, you would think, okay, that house is an asset. And it could be. But for some of these people, the people that we like to find, the people that I teach you to find, what's up, little man? Those type of people, right? Those people, that house is no longer an asset. It is a liability. So what does this look like? Every one of you, after this call, your eyes are going to be open to these properties. If you haven't seen them already, you're going to start seeing them in droves. We've all driven past. If you guys, most of you guys, or some of you guys have said that the Atlanta area. So you all know about over the shift that's happening down there by the stadium, right? By the Falcon Stadium in the Bluffs, where a couple of years ago, we just didn't even want to have anything to do with it. Now you're starting to see companies are buying up these properties in there. What type of properties are they buying? They're not buying the ones that are already fixed up and they look pretty and they look great. They're buying down the rundown, beat up, just destroyed, demolished properties. These are the properties that are no longer assets. They are now liabilities. Why? Put yourself in that particular person's shoes. You have a property that is run down, it's beat up, the windows are busted out, they done ripped all the electrical wire out, the copper out, the pipes, all that stuff is gone. But guess what? Guess who does not care that house does not have copper pipes, wire, a kitchen, a roof for that matter? Guess who does not care? Fulton County does not care. The city of Atlanta does not care, okay? They want their tax dollars, which means no matter if that property is livable or not, you have to pay taxes on it. And if you guys live in this area, you know that this year, the county in some places doubled the taxes, right? It's expensive to own property that is not generating income for yourself. Now, a lot of people don't understand that this type of problem affects thousands and thousands of people across this country. Thousands and thousands of people across this country are going through this scenario. When I looked at it, I did some statistics on it, that in this country, in last year alone, there were like 24 properties that fit this criteria every single day. They get sold 24 a day. Okay. And so just kind of give you what that perspective is. In the Atlanta market, the average deal here in the Atlanta market is between $10,000 to $15,000. Okay. So $10,000 to $15,000 is what your average wholesaler is going to make per deal. Okay. And I do anywhere between 3 to 7 deals every single month, making that average profit. And I do it mostly without me buying. Well, actually, I never buy the house, but mostly with very little to no money out of my pocket. So this is a great way for people to get into the real estate world, to get introduced to it and really understand it. Because when you buy from a wholesaler, you are not buying at the bottom price. So if Tim, if you decided you wanted to buy a fix and flip because you just watched, a whole season, you binge watched, HGTV fix and flip, right? And you just seen how they were killing it. And you're like, you know what? I want to get into the fix and flip. And you find me, guess what? You're paying 10, 20, maybe even $30,000 more more than if you would have found the property yourself, because I got to get paid because I'm doing work to find these properties. These investors, a lot of times that are sold like really hardcore fix and flip people, they don't care. They don't mind spending that money and spending, giving me that 10, 20, $30,000 profit. Why? Because all they want to do is fix and flip. They don't want to do anything else. They just want to fix and flip. And when you're fixing and flipping, you are focused on that fix and flip, because a lot of things can go wrong if you take your eye off it. Your contractors can come in there and completely rob you. So in order for them to be completely focused on that fix and flip, they can't be focused on finding the next deal. But guess what happens if you keep that money after you fix and flip that house and someone buys it from you? If you don't find a place to reinvest that money, another home to reinvest that money, because you fixed and flipped within 12 months, now you have to pay capital gains taxes. So there's a reason why people like myself and other people out there are in dire need. And the skill of being able to find people that are looking to get rid of these properties is a phenomenal skill to learn. I see a little man in the corner there. It's a phenomenal thing for you to teach him immediately about how my son knows right off the bat that we do not buy pretty houses. We only buy ugly houses. Those are the houses that we want, because those are the houses that we call add value houses. Make sure you write that down. We always want to have add value property. So let's get into the gist of this thing. We're riding around in the Bluffs. We find this property that is abandoned. That property is tore up. The roof needs work. The electrical has been ripped out. What I do is I get that address. And so we're going to get that address. We're going to write down 123 Main Street, whatever it is, Atlanta, Georgia. If you go onto the county website, and I don't know if everybody's here, the 3 people I spoke with, I know that are from Georgia. I'm not sure if everybody else is, but if you're from Georgia and you go to Google, all you have to do is type in the county and then tax assessor. So in Atlanta, obviously it's Fulton County Tax Assessor. You type in Fulton County Tax Assessor and a website will pop up, and you have on the right-hand corner, it'll say property search, okay? And then or record search. You click on that button and then it'll take you to another thing. It'll say, do you want to search by the owner or do you want to search by the address? You're going to search by the address. Once you put that information in there, you got to just follow the instructions there. 1, 2, 3, and then there'll be a block. Then you put main, and then there's another block, a little opening where you put street. So you can't put them all together. And each county, each state might be different. Like I said, I don't know where everybody's from, but just follow the directions. There's normally right there underneath it on how they want it. They are very, very specific on how you need to input that data. Can I say the website again? Yes. So the website is, if you go to, it depends on where you're at. So if you're in, where I'm from Jersey, right? I would put in Union County Tax Assessor. Here in Atlanta, Fulton County Tax Assessor. Google that, just put in Google and put in whatever your county is, Tax Assessor's Office, okay? When you do that, that'll pop up, okay? So you'll be able to pop that up and then you'll be able to follow. Like I said, every county is different. So there's no way, if I don't know where you're from, there's no way I could tell you exactly what it is, but it's pretty self-explanatory. Okay. You're going to be able to see that, there's an address where you can look up the address, and that's what you want. You want to be able to look up this, the county records by address, not by owner, because you don't know who the owner is yet, but we're going to find out. So look it up by the address, and then I put it in exactly how you said. I can't tell you how many times I've done this with students, and they just put it in there however they want to put it in there. It has to be very, very specific, and there's normally some instructions that some of them, they want the number and the street, the name of the street together, but not the avenue or street or drive or road or whatever. They want that completely separate. Some of them want everything separate. So just really make sure that you pay attention to what the instructions say and follow them to a T, or you can put the right address in there and it won't give it to you. They'll act like the address doesn't exist. As soon as you do that, though, when you hit search, it's going to pull up the owner, or at least the person who is paying the taxes or who last paid the taxes. Okay, so they're going to pull up a menu that's going to say 123 Main Street, John Smith. And you click on that link, and that link is going to open up to that link is going to open up. Actually, let me see here. That's what I like about Zoom here. Let me share my screen here. All right. Let me see. So I'm going to put Fulton County. So I already have it here. Everybody can see this. I can only see one person here. Jay, can you give me a thumbs up? Okay, cool. So we got a thumbs up. Chat. Let me make sure I can see. All right. So here we are. All right. So here on the right-hand side, you can see property search. Let me move this out of the way. Everybody see that, right? We got that property search there. Once this loads up, again, if you guys weren't here in the beginning, if this goes down, if the internet goes down, just give it a couple minutes. I'll be right back. It tends to do that. So I'm going here, right here, to address search. So every county, like I said, might be slightly different, but this is where you want to go. And for you guys that are looking for the address, just type in Fulton County, ga.gov for if you're in Fulton County. So address search, I agree. And let me see any property. Okay, I'll pull up this property right here that I got on my whiteboard up here. 812 Chestnut. Okay, so you see in this particular, the instructions right here says specifically that the number needs to be here, the street needs to be here, and the suffix needs to be here. If I put this here, if I put Chestnut Place here and went to go search, it's going to come up as nothing's going to show, right? But as soon as I put it where it's supposed to be at, it's going to show. All right. So this is good because I want to show you this. This is obviously a company. Here's what I want you guys to understand. All right. If this is a company, just go into this knowing that your chances of closing this deal have gone down. The best opportunities are from individuals. Like if you saw this, like my name is Tommy Holt. If you saw the owner was Tommy Holt, you say, okay, my chances have just increased just by that one thing. Companies, real estate companies, are there for profit, right? They are there to make money, obviously. So unless they are through sell for the discounted price that we need them to be at. Okay, we're going to talk about that discounted price and how to figure out whether or not it's a deal the next week when we dive into that, because Holding LLC. Okay, so I'm just going to click on this, and this is going to open up. Now, there's a whole bunch of information here, all right? One of the things that's important, especially when it comes time to you getting paid and doing the contract correctly, is this parcel ID, or sometimes you call it a PIN, parcel identification number. This right here is what, this is cool, the address, but this is a better identifier of what the property, the actual property is. It's not technically the legal description, you'll see that, but this is very, very close to the legal description because this is the parcel number. So each property is sectioned off into parcels. And so, for example, 812 Chestnut Place might just be in the middle of a big field, right? So that big field, they say that field is from 800 to 830 Chestnut Place. And just so happens that house, they decided out of 800, basically they had from 800 to 830 to pick from, they decided on 812. So you really need to make sure that you have this parcel number down because this is going to completely identify that particular piece of property, that particular piece of land, okay? Super important there, all right? And all of this other stuff, the residential stuff, we can talk about later and whether or not, whether it's R1, R3, all those different things. What I'm looking for here is just this. And then here, sometimes I'll go to sales. Sometimes they'll show them. Sometimes they won't. Here they do. This is important because here, guys, we are going to be negotiating here as we progress through this process. We're going to be negotiating our deal. We're going to begin negotiating how much money we should be getting paid. And if I can find out how much the person paid for the house, then I kind of know where I need to be at. A good idea of where we need to be at as far as price is concerned. Most people are going to want to either break even or make some money, obviously, on their property. Some rare cases, they're willing to take a loss. And those are the ones that you can really, really come up on and make some decent money, okay? But we can see here in 2016, December 16th, 2016, man, almost exactly 3 years, 2 years ago, they bought this piece of property for $74,000, right? Actually, you got it for, there's some things going on here. We'll talk about this stuff where you can see on the same date, almost for 27 and then for 74. We'll talk about what that looks like, what that really means. For right now, this is what we're looking for, okay? We can see here, you guys just start learning some of this vocabulary, grantor and grantee. So the grantor is the person who gives. I'm the grantor if I'm giving you the property. The person who's purchasing the property is the one who's receiving it, grantee. So as soon as you hear grantee or leasee, right? Those are the person that is receiving the property. They're the ones that's paying for the property. The grantor has to give you permission, has to grant you permission to purchase the property. That means I'm the owner. Grantor, owner, grantee, buyer. That's basically what it means. And you can see Bison Holdings, LLC, is the grantee. They are the ones who bought this property during this transaction, okay? So this is a good piece of information to know for negotiations. Really what I want you guys to look at is this residential. And residential, you're gonna be able to get some information here. We're gonna see that this has a total of 8 rooms, okay? Living area is 1,400 square feet, 4 bedrooms, okay? 2 full baths. And this is actually a duplex. I actually went out to that property, actually, so here, property class R3. Sometimes it'll say that it is, I know it does somewhere. This is an actual duplex. I've actually already been to this property, been out to the property. And so it's 2 separate 2-1s, okay? So this is all information that is useful for you, but in this first chapter, in this first module, excuse me, on what we want to talk about is finding who the owner is. So whoever the taxpayer is typically the person who owns the property, all right? So even though this property is completely vacant right now, this company owns it. There would be no other way, well, there's other ways of doing it, but this is the easiest way of me finding out who owns this property, all right? We can also look here, we can look at the tax information to get an idea. This is always a good thing to do, just to get an idea if they paid their taxes and how much the taxes are. So we see that the taxes are already paid. We said 40138, okay? And that's only because of the condition it is. So they are valuing, the fair market value of this property is $32,200. And in Georgia, we do 0.4. So 40% of this 32,200 comes out to this amount, and that's what they base your taxable value off of. That's what it's assessed at. Okay. So all this stuff is good stuff for you guys to know. But really, what I really want you to make sure in this lesson is that you see that the main thing that you're looking for, the main thing you're looking for is who is the property owner or the taxpayer, because that's the person we're going to skip trace. Okay. So for some people, skip might know what skip tracing is. If you don't know what skip tracing is basically the art of finding a particular person. Now, there's different software you can use. If you guys are taking notes, you can go ahead and use Skip Genie if you're doing one-offs, meaning that you have one property that you found and you want to know who that owner is. There's something called Skip Genie. You can do that, right? You can sign up with a service called Deal Machine. Deal Machine will also put out postcards for you, but you can also skip trace. So when I skip trace someone, I need their name and their address. Okay. So I already have their address, right? Because I wrote down that address of the property, 123 Main Street, or in this particular case, 812 Chestnut Place. Now I just needed to know who owns the property. If it's a business like that one is, well, all businesses in the state of Georgia and any other state has to be recorded with what? The Secretary of State, SOS. The Secretary of State, you have to register. If you have to register when you're a business, you also have to register a registered agent. So somebody there, an actual person, has to put down their information with their name and their address. Okay. So you can find, and this is all public access. This is all public information. So you can go at any time and go into Georgia Secretary of State office, Secretary of State, and look up a company. So that's investment LLC. I can look that company up and see who either owns it or at least who is the registered agent of it. And then when I get that information, I can go ahead and put them into Skip Genie. I can put them into Deal Machine. I can put them into, if you have access, if you know someone who has access, it's very difficult to get, but if you know someone who has access to TLO, all these different things, REI, Skip, these are all different softwares or programs that you can use to find someone. And so what you're going to get is you're going to get, if it's good, you're going to get their name and you're going to get their phone numbers. Most of the time, you'll get more than one phone number. Okay. Now, when I get that phone number, I need to make a phone call. We're going to talk about that later on how to make those phone calls, what to say. But at this point, I've gathered all this information and I need to call them. And what I'm looking for someone who is motivated to sell. You cannot wholesale. You cannot make any money in this game if you find somebody who wants retail prices. It just does not work. It doesn't happen. You have to find someone who is motivated to sell. So what I'm specifically looking for is what I call pain points or problems. So I call this person on the phone, we're on the phone, or through marketing, they reach out to me. And the whole time I'm trying to find out is what is their problem. Guys, if you understand this, it doesn't matter if you're in real estate or if you're selling wealth builder programs. It does not matter what you're doing. If you stop focusing on how much money you're going to make and you only focus on how to solve the person's problem, you will make more money than you can think about. Okay. Spend the next 10 years of your life figuring out how to fix people's problems. You'll become ridiculously wealthy. I promise you. So the whole time I'm on the phone, the only thing I'm doing is I'm listening for what their problem is. Why do they want to sell this property? So a lot of things, and I'll give you a real life example where someone, you might not think this is a dire need. This is actually a good thing. He needed to sell this property for a good reason. So I had a seller, a potential seller, who ended up turning into a seller, who wanted to sell me this property. And the reason why he sold me this property, not because he was going through a divorce or because someone died or anything like that, was actually because he got a promotion at his job. But his promotion at his job caused him to have to move to Denver. And so he had some kids and they had to move to Denver, and they were in Denver, and they had to do something very, very quickly. So they had to make that move fast, and therefore they could not wait to sell their property in Georgia. So they had this property, they had just closed on their house in Denver, and they're living out there, and now they're paying 2 mortgages. And so it's a burden to them. So my whole thing was not to try to worry about how much money I could line my pocket with. I just want to figure out, what is your problem? His problem was that he could not afford to pay both mortgages, and therefore he didn't want to take a hit on his credit. So his main thing was like, man, I just need some money to still pay for this house in Georgia, so I can get through this process. And so he had some equity in it. We figured out what that equity was, and we were able to close on that property in about 20 days, which is a little bit longer than normal, but we had to deal with the banks and stuff like that. But we're able to close on that property in 20 days. And so this is what this looks like. I'm gonna show it out because a lot of times it's a lot easier just to see it out here on a whiteboard. Okay, so we got this house, okay? And excuse me that my drawing is not that great. You guys just use your imagination. All right, so this house has the problem, right? This house has the double mortgage. So he has two mortgages on this, doesn't have two mortgages, but he's paying two mortgages, one here and one in Denver, okay? What I do is I stay here in the middle. And while I'm here in the middle, what my whole job is figuring out what this person's problem is over here and figuring out how much is it going to take to solve their problem. I'm gonna say that again. How much is it going to take to solve their problem, this particular individual's problem, okay? So I find properties like this. What happens here is that they relinquish control. Some of you guys are saying, well, like, why would anybody relinquish control of their own house? That doesn't make any sense, okay? What they do is they relinquish control of their house in the form of a contract. Now, if anybody's ever done a contract, we know that contracts most of them have they're time sensitive. Most of our contracts are for 30 days, okay? So with this contract right here, what I basically can do is I can control this house with this contract for 30 days. And if I can find a buyer that's willing to pay more than what this seller right here is willing to take, I get to keep the difference. Let me say that again and actually draw it up here. I get this house under contract for, let's just say, $50,000, so 50K, okay? So my story here is saying, I'm willing to take $50,000 if you can get rid of this house in the next 30 days. Everybody follow me on that? What I do then, just like you understand, most people, if you ever bought a house, you understand that you don't see the house one day and it's yours the same day. It's not like a car where we go to a car dealership and we fill out our paperwork and we put a little down payment and then we drive off the lot with the car. Everybody knows that that's not how we buy houses. There's a process, okay? Normally that process takes 60 to sometimes 90 days. But what I do is we get this contract. These investors, they're looking for properties just like this one here, okay? So these investors are looking for properties that are working. Is anybody on here? Did I lose you guys? We still, okay, cool. These investors are looking for these properties. Now, this investor, in order to get to this property, understands that I have a contract on it for $50,000. But what I do is I sell my contract to this investor for, let's say, $60,000, right? So I'm saying, listen, I'm willing to give you or relinquish control of this contract, $60,000. Now, at this point, money has come out of my pocket. Like nothing has come out of my pocket because this is all just a piece of paper. We understand that in order for this transaction to take place, we have to pull title, we have to make sure there's no liens on it, and that's that whole process of 30 days that we ask for. So at this point, no money has come out of my pocket. On the 30th day, or before then, whenever we establish a closing day, on that 30th day or whatever that day is, then if I don't have a buyer and I still want it, because in my contract, That's why you can't use just any contract. In my contract, I have a way to get out of this contract. It says it very clearly that if I don't find a buyer in 30 days or less, that I can get out of the contract. The property goes back to them, and there's no love lost. Make sure that's in your contract if you're using it. But within this 30 days, this buyer, because I know this is a good deal, because I know how to do the math and all those formulas, he says or she says, I am willing to give you $60,000. I'm willing to give you $10,000 more than what your contract is for, because I want to get this property here and I want to fix it. And I'm going to spend about $50,000 fixing this property, but I'm going to go ahead and sell it for $200,000. Okay. So they're going to spend money to fix it, but when they go ahead and flip it, like they do HGTV and ship, whatever I sold it to this investor for, and whatever I got it under contract for with the original seller, which in this particular case will be $10,000. So $10,000 basically is what I made off of a property that I never owned. I only controlled. Guys, if you understand how important it is to control something, you can do this thing without a doubt. Most of my mentors that are doing huge numbers, they don't really want to own anything. Actually, they don't own anything. They control everything. And it's getting into how do you set up your corporate structures and those type of things. But you don't want to have to own it. You want to just be able to control it. And so with this is how you basically can do this wholesaling process. Once again, finding someone who has some motivation. It can be a distressed property. It doesn't necessarily have to be distressed, but they just have to have some motivation to sell at a discount. And then understanding the market, understanding that, okay, if we fix this property, if we spend $50,000 on this property, we could sell this 100. Okay, do I want to buy it? No, I don't. I just want to do this right here, this process. I want to do this 4, 5, 6, 7 times a month. Okay, so since I don't want to buy it, then I got under contract for 50. Let me go and find an investor who's willing to pay me at least 60. And then when they do that at the closing table, the same day that this investor gets the keys and this homeowner gets their check, that's when I get my check for the difference between here and here, which in this particular case is $10,000. Now, I know we're using this software here. What I'd like to do, because I know there probably has to be someone out there that has some questions. Let me see. Do we have anything here? Okay, cool. We see it. We see it. Solving people's problems. Cool. How do you find the investors to buy the home from you? That's a very good question. We're going to go into detail on that once we get to that week. But I'll give you a little hint here. So one of the ways that we find investors is a very simple way. Here in Fulton County, every first Tuesday of the month, we have the tax auctions, right? We also have foreclosure auctions. Okay, some of you guys have probably heard that right? The foreclosure auctions. Investors who buy at foreclosure auctions like auction.com, they're stupid. They have no idea. Like they're spending way too much money. Once it gets to there, everybody's bidding it up. There's so many ways of finding those properties well before it gets there. But what I'll do, or what I used to do, I don't do it so much anymore. I would go to the auctions and I'll see all the people raising their hands. Because here's the thing about those auctions, especially if they're doing tax, like you have to have that cash. There's no, oh, I need to get a loan. Like, no, that's cash. So if they buy a tax lien for $50,000 or $40,000, or if they buy an auction property at $170,000, they have that money. So if they have that money, they probably can afford to spend more money on a property for you. So I will literally just walk up to them after someone lost a property. That's probably like the best time, because they just tried to bid on a property and they lost it, and they were willing to spend $110,000. Now they got $110,000 in their pocket. And I'll say, hey, my name is Tommy. I'm with Cobb Cash Homes. That property that you were bidding on, I find properties like that every single week. I can give you properties like that at a better rate than what you were just about to pay. You actually losing that property was probably a better a bigger win for you, because now I can help you find some properties that will fit your portfolio and give you a better profit margin. And then I would go ahead and get their phone number and their email address. I try to always get their phone number. If you can get their phone number, guys, make sure you do that, because text messages are opened up a lot more frequently. I forgot the actual statistic, but they're opened up a lot more frequently than emails. So what I'll do is once I get a property, I will text them, because I know they're going to check their text messages. Okay, cool. So that's one way of doing it. Another way, I'll give you one more other tip real quick. When you guys are driving around the neighborhoods, I'm quite sure you see those houses that people are working on. They're readily available when you see them with that big, normally green or blue dumpster that's sitting out, and they're throwing trash in the dumpster in the driveway. Those houses are being renovated. Well, guess what? Those people are buyers. Maybe not the person who's throwing the trash in there, they're probably the workers. But what I'll do is I'll get up and I will walk up to the job site and I'll say, hey, this is what I do. I find properties like this in this particular area. I know you guys, once you get done with this, you're going to want more work. So why don't you let me know who the owner of this house is? Give me the information, or the project manager, and we can trade information. Here's my business card, and I can find property. So that's two easy ways that you can do that. There's a lot more to do, but we can do that. How do you find investors by home? What's the best way to find these ugly homes? Drive up or go through a realtor? All right. I'm glad you brought that up, Tim. So best way to find, I don't know if there's a best way. There are some ways where you don't really need any money, which we talk about driving for dollars, right? Which basically gas money is really all you need, which is driving around the neighborhoods. There's a very proficient way of doing that. But driving around the neighborhoods and just writing down addresses that look like they're abandoned. If you think the house is abandoned, just obviously tall grass, the leaves are all over the place. Windows are broken out, right? Most people know what an abandoned house looks like. So that's one way. Going through a realtor. I'm a realtor. I don't like dealing with real estate agents. I don't, because for what we do, if you're going to do this, you don't need a real estate agent. You don't need to be licensed. There's nothing illegal about it. Don't let anybody tell you that it's illegal. It's not. They actually just kind of get in the way. Typically, they're a little more cumbersome, unless you have a real estate agent that understands investing and understands that their job, where they're going to make their money, is most likely going to be on the back end, right? Because remember, we're buying these real estate agents get paid off of how high they can sell the house. The more they can sell it for, the more commission they make. Our job is to find how low we can get the price. How low can we buy it? So it's really not beneficial for them. I did a deal where I was getting paid $28,000 that was going in my account for a house that we were selling for $68,000. We got under contract for $40,000. So the homeowner was allowing us to buy it for $40,000. He said, I just want it for $40,000. You give me $40,000 in my account and I'm good. I'm good. I found a buyer, because the numbers worked, that wanted to buy it for $68,000. Now that's a difference of $28,000 that goes to me. The real estate agent was only going to make $2,200. So on that same property, they only made $2,200, which was 3% of what they were going to get. I made $28,000. So you can see how there can be a conflict there if they don't understand that on the back end, once this person buys it, fixes it, flips it, and tries to resell it, that's where they're going to make their money. Okay. But even then, they're not going to make $28,000 on a property like that. But go through a realtor you just got to find the right realtor. You got to really find someone who's hungry and wants to make it work. Cool. Anybody else got any questions? You can throw it in the chat, or I know it's a little different. You can also take yourself off of mute and ask a question, and then we can answer it right here. Have you invested in apartment complexes or office space, rest space, or simply just the housing market? I personally have only done houses. I do have rentals. All my rentals are in Macon, and we can talk about that. That's a strategic move and why I do that, because I'm an ROI investor. Some investors are worried about how much the dollar figure that's going into their account. I'm more worried about my return on investment. Cool. All right. I think that's everybody's questions. Anybody else have any questions? Like I said, you don't have to put in the chat. You can go ahead and just take yourself off mute and you can talk and ask a question directly. For this whole, I hear somebody? Gallery.
Can you hear me?
All right. Yeah, there you go, Reggie. Go ahead.
So my question is, about how many hours a week do you think needs to be dedicated to this in order to be successful once you get, comfortable with everything?
That's an excellent question, man. Excellent question. So, this is what I tell people. In the beginning, plan on spending 20 hours a week for the next 6 months with zero expectation of getting paid, and then you will get paid. Okay. If you focus on the result instead of the process, you're going to psych yourself out of this game. You're not going to make any money. Okay. I have a student that I was teaching. She started with me November 9th. By November, she told me 2 days later. So November 11th, she called me up and she was like, I want to quit. It's just too much. It's too much information. I don't understand it. I don't think I'm going to get it. I sat on the phone with her for about 30, 45 minutes, just pleading with her to not quit and just don't give up on herself. Don't give up on her dreams. She took my advice. The very next day, she found a property, right? The very next day, she found a property that fit her. She had no clue what she was doing, but she took action, right? And she put in the time. She just closed today. No, I'm sorry. She just closed yesterday. I'm gonna show it to you so you can put it here on camera. She sent me this message. I'm going through my text messages here. So once you guys, oh, you can't see it, but once you guys get to it, you'll be able to see. This is called a HUD statement. Okay. Let me see where's her name at. Actually, I'm just going to show her last name here and how much she made. Her last part. All right. So that NUTT happens to be the part of her last name. Okay. And you can see right there, it's kind of, I don't know if it's backwards on the camera, but that says $12,500. Okay. All right. Now, and I'm going to show you here so you can see it. So I'm not going out of it. All right. This is something that she just sent to me the other day on Monday. See there? So she just made this. Now she started November 9th. She started November 9th and she was ready to quit this 2 days into it. It's now December 19th. So just over 30 days, she made $12,500. She told me that she worked as a CNA from May until today. She only made $7,500 from May until today. She made $7,500. So it really just depends on where you want to be at and how fast you want to do this. Some people, that's not typical. For me, it took me about 5.5 months to get my first deal, but I also started and stopped and started and stopped. And that's why I'm learning. Don't focus on the result, focus on the process, because when you focus on the process, you get lost in that process and things happen. She got this deal. She had no clue that the seller was not just a regular seller. He was an investor. He had 3 properties on that street alone that he wants her to sell. And he has like 5 or 6 properties in Atlanta that he wants her to sell. So she has like about 8 or 9 other deals that she'll probably get just because she took action and she focused on the process and not the result. So now, I mean, this is all I do. So I spend a lot of time doing this, but I put up some numbers too. So the more you put into it, man, the better you get at it.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Anybody else? Apologies, but I missed the part when they asked how you find investors. All right, so finding investors. You're talking about finding buyers, right? I'm assuming. So finding investors or finding buyers. Again, you can go to tax sales or the tax auctions. They will literally stand there in Fulton County. They literally stand there at the courthouse steps, and they raise their hand to bid. And why that's so cool is because when you go there and when you're bidding, if you win that bid, you can't go to Chase Bank and take out a loan. Like, you have to have cash on hand. You have a lot of them, you have to do a cashier's check or a bank certified check there and give them that money within a certain amount of time, within like a couple, 24 hours, somewhere 12 hours, depending on what county you're in. So that's one way. You can also drive around. And when you're driving around, I want you to constantly be like looking for abandoned properties. And also I want you to look for properties that are being fixed. So those properties that are being fixed, when you see them there, I literally will drive by and like, oh, there's a property that's getting fixed. I will park my car. I'll get out. I'll talk to the people, whoever's working on the house, figure out who the owner is, excuse me, or the the project manager. Either one of those people are going to know who the owner is. Obviously, the owner is going to know who they are, and the project manager, the person who's heading up the project, the person who's in charge, is going to know who's writing their check, right? So I'll talk to either one of them and say, hey, listen, if it's the project manager, man, I know you guys are killing this project right here, but as soon as you get done with this project, I know you're going to want another project. Well, I provide properties like this to your investor, the person who bought this property. I provide properties like this to them, to investors like him or her all the time. Once you give me their information, I'll give you my business card. We can trade information. So that way I can send the properties to this investor. Now, if the owner is there, then I'll just talk to the owner and just say, hey, you know, this is what I do. I find properties just like this one in this neighborhood, probably with the same amount of profit margin or probably better. Let's trade information and I'll put you on my buyer's list. And next time I have a property, I'll make sure that you're the first person I contact. So really simple. Make sense? Cool, cool. All right. All right. Anybody else? Anybody else? Questions? Cool. Well, listen, quick recap, man. This is kind of this is the starting block. This is the frameworks where we're going to be building on this thing. Don't be like that. Well, you can be like her because she just made $12,500 in like 30 something days. But in the beginning, she was ready to quit because she was trying to consume this. Listen, guys, I know this is like an opportunity that you can take this opportunity, you can learn this stuff, and this is a skill that you could pass on. It's an amazing feeling that on any given month, I know, like, if I don't want to work hard on any given month, I can make $10,000 and I don't need anybody else's permission. I don't need anybody else to tell me what to do. I don't need to ask for anybody to go to the bathroom or anything like that. Like, I can do it, right? And like I said, I'm doing this 3 to 7 times every single month. You can do this stuff if you take it in chunks, right? If you take it in bites. Don't try to take everything at once. I know everybody wants all the information right now. Understand the basics. Understand the basics of wholesaling solely is me finding a motivated seller and standing in the middle of that motivated seller and that buyer, and me collecting the fee in the middle for finding the seller. Because why doesn't the buyer do it? Because the buyer, the end investor, wants to focus on flips. They need to be out there swinging hammers, or at least directing everybody how to swing the hammer. They don't have time to do what I do and find the seller, the one that wants to sell at a discount, because I have to go through a lot of people to find this particular person. It's very time consuming until you get a rhythm into it, until you get a system. But in the beginning, it's very, very time consuming to find someone who says, man, I know my house, if I fix it up, would sell for 200, but I'll sell it to you for 40. It's kind of time consuming to do that. So that's where I come in. I know the skills, I know the steps to weed out some of those people and find these people. And because I have that skill, I collect the difference in between whatever they want to sell it for and whatever they're willing to buy it for. Okay. And whenever that happens, I make money. This person gets a property that they can fix. This person gets a property that they can, gets a check for whatever they decided they want to sell it for. And everybody walks away happy. There's no funny business. There's no hiding stuff under the table. We do everything up in the open. So understanding that that is common in America, just because we don't hear about it. If you just kind of, believe me on this for right now. I know I'm asking for a lot, but just believe me on this for right now, that you guys are absolutely 100% capable of doing this. I promise you, you are capable of doing this. It's very, very simple once you understand these steps. So if you guys don't have any other questions, we're going to go ahead and cut this one. And then next week, we're going to be doing this. The next week, we're going to be going a little bit more into how do we know whether or not this is a good deal or not. So make sure you guys, for next week, bring some paper, because we're going to give a very short, small equation, but you really have to understand it. Okay, I'm going to say it a couple different times. You really have to understand that equation in order to figure out whether or not you have a good deal or not. All right. So you guys have a blessed one, man. Love you guys, and thank you so much for joining in. You guys take care. Peace.